that. Here's from Chris, Smokey, Paul, and Craig. Is Oklahoma State the best Big 12 team, or have they just been lucky on the schedule so far?
I don't know if they're the best. I mean, you watch the way that they win games. That's not what the best team does.
They win. They're winning.
But yeah, they're a really, really crap call away from losing to Boise State. So
beat Kansas State when we didn't think they would.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't sure about that one.
I don't think they're the best team. They're a better team than everybody thought they were, and they're good. But I mean, look, their quarterback is an absolute adventure. And so, no, I would not say they're the best team.
Do we know, other than until proven otherwise, and we might learn that tomorrow at the Cotton Bowl, is it still Oklahoma? Because they have warts, but they're unbeaten. And, it's like one of those things. The people almost sometimes you look for, it's like a beauty contest sometimes in college football. And I hate that. I don't like the beauty contest. Just win games. You don't think Baylor would like to have won an ugly game in Stillwater? So I don't know who the best team is. And tomorrow, Texas might just swat them right out of that conversation. Who knows? Or they might just validate, hey, boys, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think the winner of tomorrow's game is probably the best team in the Big 12 between Oklahoma and Texas. I have my doubts about OU, and I have my doubts about Texas as well. But, I mean, Oklahoma State's right in that mix. I'm like you guys. I don't know who the best team in the Big 12 is right now. I guess if I gun to my head, I'll say Oklahoma just because that's the default answer. And, again, they are unbeaten. But I think, Texas has looked really good in some ways. And depending on what happens tomorrow, you could probably make a case for them if they win that game. Well, you could really make a case if they win that game convincingly. But, yeah, I don't have full confidence in anybody to say that they're the best right now, quite honestly with you. That's not a cop-out. It's just nobody's looked that good. I mean, Texas has looked better, but they also got their heads kicked in by Arkansas. Oklahoma's unbeaten, but they've also had to scrape by every single week. The Boise State thing with Oklahoma State, even that game last week got close at the end when it shouldn't have been.
Iowa State lost at Baylor.
Iowa State lost it. So, I don't know who the best team is. I think that's what kind of makes it fun in some ways is the fact that everybody is still very much in this race for the most part, except for Kansas, and West Virginia will be out of it tomorrow if they lose. So that's why they're chomping at the bit to play in Waco tomorrow. Baylor at 2 losses basically done. I would say in Big 12 play. So yeah, we're going to get some separation tomorrow. I as much as I'm not ready to say this team's clearly the best, I know it's not. I don't think Oklahoma State's the best team. I think they're 1C, 1B, 1C, but I don't think that they're 1A. And reason being mostly because you threw 3 interceptions last week. I just can't trust your quarterback, man. I just can't trust Spencer Sanders week in and week out to not make some mistakes, but I love the defense. Love watching Jaylen Warren run. There's not enough there offensively consistently just yet to make me go yeah, they're the best team.
If you had guys like Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace still on
there'd be no question about it.
Almost no question, even in spite of Spencer Sanders. But this is the least dynamic offensive Oklahoma State team in a while, and that's fine.
And that may be good. Maybe they don't have all the toys. Yeah. It's kind of like sometimes you fall in love with weapons and toys, and you forget about we've Army Ants, Worker Bees, whatever. Maybe they're a team filled with that. The team in 2019 with Baylor was undefeated and beating the hell out of Oklahoma in the first half. That team, they were unbeaten, but they could have had 2 losses or so. You got to win those close games if you're going to have any kind of run. The good news for Oklahoma State, I guess, is that they have the off week. Texas is playing Oklahoma. Then they go to Austin. And you know what? That could be for the lead in the Big 12 next week at Austin.
Yeah.
Could be we're now, at least for now, we're at the king of the hill.
And let's say it as well. I mean, it's not like Oklahoma State blew out everybody in those other games either. Those were also close games. And granted, Spencer Sanders wasn't playing the entire time, and you had to go to Illingworth or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't want to put down $100 bill on any team in this conference to say they are clearly the best and they're going to be the best the rest of the way.
And I like that. I do like that because
I wouldn't do it. I mean, maybe if take yourself out of the hardcore fan equation, because I'm sure some rowdy Texas fan, I guess, or something, or an Oklahoma fan would be like, yeah, absolutely, we're the best team. But do you really know that and believe that? I don't think anybody can say with 100% certainty right now that they know and believe Team A is the best team in the Big 12 right now.
No, it's one of those things. Okay, you may not gamble, but I'm gonna. Here's $1 million. $10,000.
Here's your rent money for next month.
Yeah, here's your rent for my. But
so
you lose.
You have to gamble it.
You lose. You're going to lose it. You're going to have to pay it. I'll pay it if you're right. But tell me the best team in the Big 12. There'd be some that would still maybe say Oklahoma, or some would say their favorite team or Oklahoma State, whatever. And there were always, But if Texas beats Oklahoma, that Texas Tech, we kind of just forgot about them because they got boat raced by Texas. Then they go to West Virginia to win. And then they do win against a team they have not been able to beat in TCU. And then all of a sudden you beat the team that's owned the Big 12 for almost a decade. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think this, and the reason I think you can't put a head and shoulders Big 12 leader right now or best team in the Big 12 is that for so long Oklahoma, you could say that either they were so good on the offensive side of the ball that their defense didn't matter, or the last couple of years you've been able to say that, look, their offense is good and their defense is really good, and they're the most complete team in the Big 12. And then Iowa State was, last year right behind them with a decent offense and a really good defense. This year, I don't think there's a team in the Big 12 that you can say they're completely well-rounded on both sides of the ball, which means that you're going to have some games you lose because you're not well-rounded on both sides of the ball. You're going to have some games you don't expect to lose. You're going to have things that are jump up and bite you. Texas looks like they're really good on offense, but they're, kind of so-so on defense. So that'll jump up. It's already jumped up and bitten them against Arkansas. It'll probably jump up and bite them in the conference. Oklahoma's offense is inconsistent. Their defense looks like it's okay, although last week they couldn't get Kansas State off the field. So you can go through every game and pick things about every team that shows you that there's not a team that is in control of all their games. One
of the things about OU, even when they lost early last year, and they have that hiccup always, it seems like early, and even sometimes there's two, you knew that they were still sustainable, that they'll be there in the end. And they're about the only team in the last decade that you could say that in the end you knew they were going to be there. They were going to be there in the end. And that I love that. Yeah, it'd be nice if Oklahoma, if they beat Texas, and I'm saying if they do, to give the Big 12 a team that's going to be right there inside the top 5 right now at number 6 and kind of like flex their muscles a little bit, along with Cincinnati and Brigham Young, who's coming at some point.
Yeah, we can't count them right now.
No, you can't. And it's fun to do that, but no, we're not as well.
So to the Oklahoma State guy, I hope that didn't come across as me not having faith in them. They're right there. They have as good a chance of anybody. I just, like I said, if I had to put my rent money up and either I'm going to have my rent money or not, I'm going to not make that bet because I don't have enough faith in anybody. But yeah, they're right there in the mix along with OU, Texas, and 2 or 3 others right now.
I think the bet would be I'm going to pay your rent if you're right, but you're going to pay twice as much rent if you're wrong. Yeah, otherwise there's nothing to gamble.
Situation where I have to gamble it. I'm not gambling anything on predicting who the best team is.
From Scotty B to Roll, I'll wrap up this segment. We'll talk next segment about Pittsburgh and their quarterback that's getting all the